pleasure for us to introduce this one. We presented it yesterday new, so it's obviously a building we've done from beginning to end, and it's what we're calling always. And I just need to, I'm not moving, there we go. So it's on the lands of the Boomerang people, and we acknowledge them as the traditional owners. We pay our respect to them. This is where we're sitting in Flinders, over there looking across to Phillip Island, just to give us some context, and just north of the pier. So it's a house right on the beach. It was a Chancellor and Patrick house built in the 60s, gorgeous little kind of ranch style one on this kind of spare land. You can start to see these really early warm interiors. It came to us like this, completely modified with a big kind of road leading down to it. And this is how we found it. It was about 10 years ago. It's been a really long project for us, so pretty tired, but not as, it was way more tired than we thought. We had to get some GFBs with the interiors. We'd given some furniture advice. We got our client in there, but then we had to get it some geotech advice because of the overlays, and it was basically about to slide into the ocean. So everything had to come out, turned into a new house at the absolute nth hour. So this is where we landed. This is all we had left, like this beautiful cold stone wall. So as an opportunity to really reinstate that balance through collaboration, a little piece we did for Design Week last week in conjunction with Amanda Oliver Gardens. And for us, that beautiful nexus of what we do comes between landscape, interiors and architecture. And this was this little piece, which is really relevant for this project, which became more landmass on top of a house. And it feels like I haven't got to the interiors, but the interiors are so important to this kind of combination. So that's where we kind of sit. So we want to take, and this is basically about covering the site again in a landscape from that kind of terribly chewed by cows landscape we showed you first. So our client, most important thing on this one, and a really lovely relationship with her, what she brought to the site. Now that front door you go into was a piece that she has a relationship with Bangarra Dance Company and with a lot of Indigenous crews, if you like. So this was a big piece that informed it. And this beautiful doorway was made by Jake Nash, who's the head designer of Bangarra. And as you walk through that door and the site's revealed, it's a really nice reminder. Now, she also has a beautiful collection of work from Warman, which is Turkey Creek, which are ochres on canvas. And she has a lot of beautiful work from Buku Marange up in Yakala, which are ochres on bark, which are such beautiful things to think of colour coming from the earth and being naturalistic. And to make a home for these alone was a real privilege for us, but to use that kind of idea of earthy colour became incredibly important in this project. These are, what have we got here? 5 little images of places in the house, which we'll get to, which shows where that work sits. And it excites us so much, even just going back for this shoot to see that there's a home for them that way. And these beautiful textures. So the house is very much about that. And pretty early, I mean, quite aside from the metaphor, we chose not to use black or white in the interiors of this house. And the approach, there's an outside approach and an inside approach from materials. Outside was really about letting it weather and coastal in the sense of being very Australian. And the materials do that between the concrete and the cold stream, which we took our cues from that one little bit of wall we had left. This isn't grey yet, it will be. But you can start to see the greyness of outside, the inside becoming this golden honey warm refuge, and you can start to see that with the doors open. And really that outside should drop away, be hidden, stick its head down, not stick its head up. So the inside, this beautiful image, Andy Goldsworthy's Oak Room, to talk about the idea of prospect and refuge and about being in something that feels very held and getting a bit sexy here with a Digliani. Pat hasn't seen me put this in the presentation. We'll see how he feels about this one. A place to be, a space to see without being seen, which is a big challenge on a house really right on the beach, but to feel that safeness. Now I'm going to just throw materials at you in terms of us building up this very rich palette. That first one of that green slate, and using a lot of cloth that has texture in it, the linen of the curtains, the cedar of the interiors, which were also a reference to that kind of ghost Chancellor and Patrick house from the very beginnings. Use of mirror in this, an age-old pursuit in our practice is how we hide a telly, that beautiful Nongata Marawili on a Bangarra dance board being on sliding panel that hides the television in there, to line everything in this kind of richness of cedar, the green of the render and concrete. But there's also a rawness to it. It's not a perfect place, that all these things kind of work together as a textural element. Got Adriana wrapped in a curtain in there. And then the process of moving in, the entry sequence and moving into the house was a huge part of the design, which we've called To Her Door. So as you move through that front gate and come into that outside space, to be revealed, all the time a narrative reveals itself. So in this plan, I'm going to take you through the top floor. I might just very, very quickly with the cursor talk about, this was about a house you could age in place on a very hilly site. So getting a lift in here and easy access was part of the kind of interior design challenge of how this house was laid out. But to kind of come into a darkness and to move down hallways, which are made dark and textural, and to finish in a view, to find the view eventually, but to find places you can look through and out on the way here is a big part of that. So as we move in and move down that hallway with all of those big lovely doors that are hiding that kind of mass between you, to feel the texture of that bedroom, and then to look out and to make places you could open and get breathers through, that narrative's revealed. This is a bathroom and a bedroom that occur on that north upper level. So how we can kind of, again, there's quite kind of fleshy colours of being in here, the ochres, but how we can capture and look over and find other places to be on the site and have north light on us as well. Moving down the stairs, it's just a very enjoyable place to even touch the walls as you walk through, and to move down and take you to the bottom plan. Now, it's a beautiful house, not a huge house though. So as we come down, we reveal this view straight out to Phillip Island. Tucked away in here, which was part of the original design, rebuilt, was a little guest bedroom, kitchen in here, and then 2 consecutive living areas, which seem quite weird, but of course it makes the most of that beautiful view. So this is moving down, some beautiful Buku Larango Lorcon in that entry area, the concrete roof, looking back out, looking out through the kitchen. So everything's a texture, looking back into the kitchen from that other living area. Again, using mirror to kind of delineate that, not to delineate that space at the top, to make it feel quite continuous and almost infinite, that beautiful warm ceiling. Looking through to the guest bedroom and going down into the guest bedroom. So it's okay to leave things open, and about that idea of looking through space to end in something that has been quite considered and controlled. You can see outside the architecture in that bottom right shot where that little room sits.
1 minute remaining.
Again, in the little bathroom down the bottom, they're actually the sweetest little, we didn't get a picture of it, these beautiful little skylights, a double set of eye skylights come up through the garden 2 levels above. So there's actually some really beautiful sections in here about controlling light. And even not forgetting that something like the laundry, that it could be a beautiful thing. Looking out, looking back down to these quieter spaces at the back of the site. And that it's not all about looking out to a view, but sometimes it's about looking to a quiet place. And I guess this is broadly the idea of refuge and prospect, which often these houses crane their necks to, and you get seen as a consequence. It's very important in this house you could feel safe and kind of surrounded into, not just all about glass. Like looking out to this back space where we start to kind of furnish it like an interior space, and then those rooms from up the top I showed you start to open out, and we start to kind of blur the space between inside and out, but not on the coastal seaside setting as predicted. We had one more little building we put at the top at the end of the site. That's why this project's been on the books for so long, which we call it the Gite. And under those same principles, it was about the journey in, the idea of refuge, a quiet garden, arriving, and that really you experience a view through an internal space. So it looked like a wall. If you like, these are pretty rubbish, our shots, not Derek's walls, nice shots. It's very kind of hidden up the back. You move into a garden. There's, again, beautiful textures and depth in the colour. And
Few seconds remaining.
Looking out over our new building that we've made and just finished in front, and this was added to it. So it used all the same kind of rules, if you like, about texture, no black and white, and really going back to that idea that the landscape or ochre's influence its interior design. And that's where we've landed.